think this is week 4, second week in the, third week in the block. One more to go. Real quick before I get started on the training portion, I guess I'll do a little diet update. Right now, super fucking boring. I'm just trying to maintain. I kind of realized, so the initial weight drop was due to some very extreme bulking fatigue. Pretty much through the entire prep for Rainier, that 16 weeks, I was throwing up most of my food and just kind of involuntarily losing weight. Dropped from 305 all the way down to 265 morning weight, and just got too far into prep to not push through to the end, and nothing was wrong enough that it warranted to stop. So I just continued to try to hold as much weight as possible, which just resulted in more throwing up and more weight loss. But in the moment, I couldn't really wrap my head around doing anything else except just pushing through. So anyways, at this point, I'm kind of now continuing to diet and putting a competitive goal around it, because I don't care enough about dieting to do it without that, and so I kind of need something to hold me accountable. Right now, I'm at the point where I'm just maintaining 255, 260. I'm getting more and more hungry week to week as my training ramps up. Up until now, I hadn't been training anything intense. It's all been correctional work, priming work, off-season work, things that you would do immediately after a show, and 2 moves across the country before getting ready for another big year. So, and I expected this. I haven't been burning nearly as many calories as I had intended to in training. Started ramping back up. So this is all expected. It's just getting a little bit more difficult, which is fine. Makes it a little bit more interesting. Makes it more of a challenge. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'm kind of doing those different methods, like I mentioned in my story the other day: the adjusted keto, the strict macro counting, flexible dieting, fasting. I'm just really, at the end of the day, my total calorie countage per day, per week, whatever, is coming out to be the same average, but I'm experimenting with different methods. One, to tell you guys what works best, and just to generally document what's going on with these different methods, and 2, to keep myself fucking occupied, because it's getting really boring just counting macros. So I'm just trying to do whatever it takes to make this more and more sustainable the more and more hungry I get, low energy I get. I'm not going to push this to the point of it being, it will be unhealthy, but to the point where it really starts to put my body at risk for injury and stuff like that. Worst case scenario, I'm going to come to the realization that I got to get this over with, and I'm going to go find a show as soon as I'm ready, attempt the dumbbell record, and then reassess from there. But anyways, let's get to training. I decided to give the Cerberus bar another shot. I adjusted my band tension this week. I think last week I must have been up towards 170 pounds at the top, which was just way too much of a starting point and kind of didn't give me the most accurate perception of the bar. So I am going to give it another shot, both this block and next block. I've already decided next block I'm going to change the band tension. I'm going to change the setup so that it's a choke setup, which will give it a little bit more off the box and a little bit more difficult tension all the way through, but I'm not going to change the poundage all that much. It will increase the poundage a little bit, but it's not like a typical jump like I would. From there, I'm just going to continue the next 2 blocks after that of just adding about 5 to 10% pounds or percent in band tension each wave, and repeat the bar weights. I had a good question on my Instagram yesterday: why am I doing the box squats as opposed to a regular squat? So there's a couple reasons. One, I'm doing a ton of movements in my program that have a fully closed knee or ass to grass positioning, and as long as that's getting hit, then you don't need to be doing a full squat. as your main one, and oftentimes it can be a little bit too much if you are, because I'm doing front squats, I'm doing thrusters, I'm doing a shit ton of leg accessories where I'm coming into a full squat, but fully flexing my knee, all that sort of stuff. So this is actually one kind of programming wise is it is just more balanced having this in there rather than just another full squat. But two, if you look at where the tension and the difficulty is really starting to set in, and if you look at my stance, it's very similar to my dip and drive on the dumbbell. So this band progression and safety squat bar setup with the box is a lot because I need to push something lower body very heavy and difficult, but also that's very safe, especially on my low back, and causes me to have to continue to accelerate through harder and harder weight as it gets higher and higher up. So that is the main thinking behind this lift. If you think about the dumbbell, it's very velocity based, it's very technique based, and if you kind of think about the nature of the box squat, you know, it's used as a very heavy movement or it's used as a very dynamic movement. I'm kind of trying to get the best of both worlds out of this movement. So I worked up to a top triple this week. It felt really good. Oh, except this last warm-up set, this one right here, my feet slipped out. Watch. I don't know what happened, otherwise, I think I just sat too far to the box and I didn't maintain tension, obviously, but my feet just slipped out right in front of me. It scared the shit out of me, but watched the video a few times and the way my body felt, nothing hurt, everything felt warm, so I figured it was appropriate that I just go ahead and take my top set. I'm actually getting ready to go squat here in about 30 minutes after I finish this video. I'm going to take 5 plates for my top single. That'll be the last week in the cycle. And then, like I said, I'll change that band setup. I'll go ahead and repeat the weights. I might even add a little bit more, like a mini or something, depending on how heavy that comes out to be at the top. Because if it's exactly the same, I am going to go up a little bit. Snatch grip work, just worked up to a single at 495. I'll show you what I'm working on. So the cue I was given from one of my buddies that worked pretty well, I took it into deadlift day. Notice I'm going to smash my hips into the bar, okay? I actually want to pull the bar back into my hips, and it should cause it to feel a little bit faster, a little bit lighter. But I just want you to pay attention to this rep right here, and then watch my deadlifts for day 3 later on in the video, and you'll see the difference of how I'm working on it. So this one is hips to the bar. You see? And then later on I'll get to show you my normal conventional deadlifts, my deficits, is where I worked on that cue of pulling the bar into my hips, not the other way around. Here's some just my jumping that I'm just trying to document each week. Just for recording purposes. So nothing special about this in particular. I'm just always doing some sort of vertical jump, some sort of box jump to get ready for press days. On main press day, it's jumping. On my secondary press day, it's throwing mechanics, which is also just jumping, but I am having a bag in my hand or I'm doing something very specific to my throwing technique. Also involving a jump. So this week I was really just trying to focus on catching at a higher height. I like to use these, one, not only to warm up my explosiveness and my actual fucking drive with my legs. Where I catch is I kind of catch and I pause for a second. It gives me some good awareness for the dip in my actual push press. I'm dipping a little bit too low. on my top set, so I really wanted to try to catch in a higher stance than I normally do. Like that right there was kind of what I wanted. Jumping. Oh. Good. Top double or triple here. I think I missed my third rep, but we'll get to that. Any day now. Yeah, nothing too interesting here. Just really working on not dipping quite as low. Kind of a normal meat and potatoes day here. Felt really good. It's been taking me a while to get my shoulders and everything warmed up, but I'm a really, really big fan of these days. I think even after competing, I'll always have some sort of Olympic weightlifting or CrossFit in my regimen because this is just such a good complementary work to everything that we do. Heavy squatting and deadlifting, pressing, all that sort of stuff. Feels very healthy. Yeah. 95 here. One more week on these, then be switching this back to the strict press, bringing the dumbbell up to the thruster. I'll bring my front thruster up to the push press. Be cool. Last block and finishing a full cycle of this. I did figure out, you'll notice in these, I'm kind of slipping through my knee a little bit. I'm starting to think it's ankle, not just the knee and the hip. So I figured out how I'd like to address my ankle. I'll show that this week in this next video. But yeah. We got here 305. Oh, wait a minute. I think this is 315. No, that's 305. That's where I missed it, but you can see I slipped through my knees the most there. I think this is 325. I don't think I got it. Yeah, it's just really figuring out the timing with these things. Here's my back off set. I took 275 for an easy set. This was really, really helpful. You can see the knees and the hips are much more balanced in this set. These back offs have been really great learning sets. Into my front partial thrusters. I'm just playing around with these. anything from a full squat position. See Jody back there, Myron. I will say, getting into position from the bottom like this, really, really helpful. I think I'll be doing that from now on because of how helpful that is. Just like, what I mean by that, it takes such a long time to get that upper back and T-spine unglued and moving the way that you want to. And it's also just like so quick to get it beat back down and tied up the way it was. This seems to just like really, really, really force you to keep that open, and keep it mobile. Seems to improve pretty drastically each week too. I can't remember what I worked up to here. I think it was only 275. It was 295 the week before, 275 this week. Like I said, this is just kind of an unloading slot to the first slot. I call it a play around slot. It's supposed to be heavy, but it's also supposed to be refreshing, supposed to feel good, supposed to have fun. It's a movement typically picked because you really have such little association with what's a good weight, and it might be so difficult, but it's also something that allows you to lift heavy enough to get your nuts wet, essentially. I'm doing some bench press this week on the strict pressing. I'm thinking I'm just gonna kind of rotate around. This week I have it. The last time, I think I'm gonna do it fucking sitting on my ass on the floor. And this first week I'll just take as an experimental on the strict pressing and just see what I like the best. Next block, I'm gonna Scott press from the behind the neck position. I think pretty much the whole time. I think that's what I'm going to do. Or I'll do it standing with some stability weights, and then when front rack becomes the strict press, then maybe I'll do that. But I don't know. I haven't decided yet. It's not that big of a deal. They'll all get done. Yeah, I got a shitty angle this one, but you'll see I'm coming from here, and I'm pressing it away from me as I bend down to the side. And I'm not reaching full lockout until I get all the way down, so it is still a full proper sequence through the tricep and shoulder. It is just kind of holding the dumbbell in place and pressing your body away from it. Alright, check it out. Watch how I pull the bar back into me. See? So that's what my takeaway from day one's deadlift was. And now that's the main cue that I'm working on to put everything together. This was a really good and productive day, actually. It's only 375 on the bar, but I did 10 doubles, probably 45 to 60 second rest time. And I was very, very tired this day. I've been pretty much ramping up linear on my deadlifts for about 6 to 8 weeks now, and it's not been anything heavy, but there is still an aspect about a week to week progression that can cause you to be a little bit beat up and tired. Just more so from the continuous adding rather than the actual weight. So this was my first week in the deadlift rotation that I'm doing, which is going to be a dynamic day, 2 meat and potatoes days between 70 and 80%, no more than 12 to 15 total reps, and then an AMRAP day. I'll take 1 to 2 AMRAPs, probably 70 to 75%, and then I'll come back around to the EMOMs. It'll be a 4-week cycle. I'm going to try that for a little bit. And right now, the deadlifting isn't too much of a concern, and it's also so far behind that it doesn't really matter what I do as long as I'm getting my reps in within my range and being consistent about it. So I'm fine with just kind of experimenting first couple blocks, seeing what the best rotation for that is, and then putting it in place because it's getting better. Dumbbell, 185 for 3 each side. Didn't get any warm-ups. Just didn't feel like it. I was really fucking tired this week. The hunger's really starting to get to me. I'm in like a 2,000 calorie deficit from what I'm normally used to just to maintain, which is fine. It's not supposed to be easy, but it is getting to me a little bit. And today it was affecting my mindset. Had a really hard time filming stuff, but that's the way it goes. That's what I signed up for. I was pretty happy about that. Pretty weak in the re-rack position, so I was like really happy with what that did. So on the left side, I missed the first one actually, but I was able to correct and get the next two. The right arm was like not really a struggle. It was tough enough where it caused me to really utilize and learn from the tough variables from the variation I picked, but it also wasn't a weight that made it such a cunt that it wasn't productive. So I was really happy with how those played out. Here's just a so this and the next video, I'm doing 3 rounds of supersetting back to back, some sort of flat press and then some sort of fixed press. I'm going to do the same variations for 3 or 4 weeks and then switch it up. So I'll probably go into like dips and overhead dumbbell or something. I don't know. Doesn't really matter too much as long as it's that same flat to overhead unilateral setup is what I'm going for. So right now, just having fun after I finish my dumbbell work, going and getting a juicy bro pump on the chest press machine and then triceps. Doing a little biceps after that, and then that's pretty much my day. So that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and feel free to send me a DM on Instagram, Taylor Draw, or drop a comment here on this video and let me know if you have any questions or if you want to see anything else or if I can talk about anything else. All right.